Professional wrestling is the one true sport. Other sports have their share of intense, dramatic moments, but nothing can compare with professional wrestling. Welcome to Wrestling History X, where three friends come together to talk about the stories behind the matches. I'm Matt.
I'm Terry Funk's dog.
And I'm Schmidtmaster Shane.
Welcome to episode 108, ECW Hardcore TV.
It's hardcore.
It's hardcore.
This was the 38th episode produced by ECW. The matches shown would actually take place on December 26th, 1993, at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, during a live event called Holiday Hell, with an attendance of 800 people.
So edgy. Hell.
Did Santa show up there?
He might have.
Oh.
But
if he did, he probably pulled the beard off and hit him over the head with a cellular telephone.
The red suit was just blood-soaked.
But then would be shown 2 days later on TV. But since we're in ECW, that means we're in Philadelphia.
Oh, are we ever?
Motown Philly back again.
And I wonder if Shane could bring us something even more delicious than a Philly cheesesteak.
It's getting tricky with old Philly because, we're there so often, and I can only do so much from this far away that, eventually I have to start making stuff on my own because, you can get a Philly cheesesteak, but things that are signature to Philly you can't necessarily find here as easily, so you gotta get creative. So I was doing my deep dive, trying to figure out what sandwiches to try, what foods. I've hit us with some desserts, so I figured it's time to break away from the sweets after the last couple weeks and actually get back to what this whole thing started around.
Real ass food.
Some real ass food to go with the real ass wrestling.
Greasy shit for a greasy wrestling show.
Fuck yeah. What most people don't know is, while they are familiar with Philly cheesesteaks, there's also what's known as the quote-unquote other sandwich of Philadelphia. Started up at McNally's Tavern, I believe is what it's called, back in the 70s. A guy named Dennis was a regular at this place. He used to come in and he drank Schmidt's beer, and he wanted something different, and he decided to ask for a cheesesteak, but he wanted to throw a sauce on it and kind of twist it up a little bit, do something different. And Mr. McNally hit the grill and decided to try up something. He didn't have a pizza sauce that this guy Dennis wanted on his sandwich, so he created kind of a Thousand Island type thing and started stacking all this stuff onto a nice little toasty Kaiser bun and made a different twist on a Philly known as the Schmitter. It became a popular thing. The guy kept coming back, ordering it day after day, and they ended up putting it on the menu, and it's become a staple of Philadelphia. Yeah, the Schmitter is I used a Kaiser roll, toasted it up with some white American cheese, took some thin sliced ribeye, sauteed it, or just kind of grilled it in a skillet with some thin sliced onions. Let it get browned while the onions caramelized, stacked it on top of it so some of the juices from the meat would cook down into the onions and the flavor of the onions would cook up into the meat. While that magic was happening, we threw some sliced salami into the pan with another slice of American or white American cheese and a big thick tomato slice on there. Let the salami get nice and crispy, almost like bacon or Canadian bacon in a way, and stacked it all on top, and then topped it all off with Thousand Island dressing.
This is the kind of sandwich that you would want to eat after drinking 8 beers, or maybe then. This is a hangover sandwich.
Yes, it's pretty freaking good.
It makes for
beautiful grease bomb.
Delicious grease bomb. Yes.
Thinking maybe some garlic, maybe something for heat, but flavor wise,
I could see a
steak,
a pickle
tomato,
on here,
cheese,
maybe
pork, creamy sauce. Fuck yeah!
Well, while Shane takes a bite out of this delicious sandwich and then wipes his hands because it's It is greasy, but it's so tasty.
You know what's good when it makes a mess and tastes great all at the same time?
Some things that happened right around the same time as this episode of Hardcore TV. The weekend before, we would see a plethora of films released to the theater. Philadelphia.
Oh, good movie.
Grumpy Old Men.
Oh, good movie.
Tombstone.
Good movie.
Nice.
And Batman: Mask of the Phantasm.
Jeebus.
Was Phantasm that went to the theater?
Yeah.
Okay.
They released it into the theater.
It's really good. Of course, it's some real Batman nerds would call it the best Batman movie. I'm not a real-ass Batman nerd, but I know I've seen this, and I know that this is kind of like, had the animated series started, or just kind of kicks that off?
It's actually in the middle somewhere.
Okay, so yeah, this is like, but it's canon with that, right?
Yeah, it's part of that universe.
Okay, yeah, it's good. So it's really good. All these movies are really good.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, all these movies got released on the same weekend. I'm like,
insane.
Speaking of, talked about Bruce last week. Bruce Springsteen song for Philadelphia is fucking great. Both those songs for Philadelphia are great.
And then the week before that, we talked about Bruce and how you got 9 months to come up with the name, and this is the best you come up with, huh?
And then Grumpy Old Men, which was a much bigger hit than I think they ever expected.
oh, definitely.
Had a sequel. I've seen Grumpy Old Men more than all of these movies. It was on TV a lot, and it was funny. And you could watch it with your mom and your grandma, and like it just kind of worked. It just kind of like fit its way in there, where it's like, oh, like in 1993, nobody had any business sitting me down and making me watch Philadelphia. I was born in 1987. Philadelphia is not really going to work on me at that point in time.
A little deep of a subject for you.
Yeah, like incredible movie.
I've seen it.
I adore it. The scene after the party where Tom Hanks is kind of drunk and plays some classical music for Wesley Snipes. It's Denzel Washington.
Denzel.
Sorry. And they do the dance thing. It's so good, but he still never quite turns, which makes it a little bit more realistic and upsetting for it, but in a good way.
No, it was... I mean, I watched that one in the theaters. I was 16 at the time and a closeted gay kid myself. So
I imagine
Philadelphia was...
Fucking worked up.
It was
probably
awesome.
Probably
but
hit
then,
home a little bit.
Oh, yeah. But then it was also scary, too, because it was the first movie that I had really watched.
Yeah.
Regarding, AIDS and that kind of thing. So it was very, very telling of what the future could hold if I didn't take control of life. But
it's a pretty
amazing movie. Tom Hanks was very, very, very deserving of the Best Actor Oscar and everything else he won for that.
What's funny is that Jonathan Demme made Philadelphia because he was a very empathetic guy, but he made Silence of the Lambs, one of the most influential movies. Look at every television show about murder. It's like, oh, okay, well, here's the blueprint. But the way that the trans and gay character in that film was portrayed, he felt kind of bad about it afterwards, so he wanted to make a more human film about people that were not heteronormative or whatever, and he did a pretty good job of it. If Philadelphia doesn't tear you up, who are you?
Jonathan Demme was on a roll in the mid 90s or the start of the 90s anyways. I'm trying to remember what else he had in there, but I mean
there's Something Wild is really fun.
Oh, that's right, that was him.
Of course, the greatest concert film of all time, Stop Making Sense, for the Talking Heads. Jonathan Demme's a cool and interesting guy. We got Tombstone, a movie that was so popular. I didn't see it as a small child, but my dad thought that Kurt Russell was so cool in that movie that he tried to curl his mustache for 6 months and grow it up.
It's my favorite Western.
Is it?
Yeah.
The last time I tried to watch it was a big handful of years ago, and I was like, this is really long, and I just don't think I'm in the mood right now, but I've seen it before, and it is good, but...
and I quote multiple lines from this movie. Because, the obvious one...
It was a very quotable movie, because, my dad, his friends,
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Yep.
That's the obvious one. But I also quote, and hell's coming with me.
Hey, let's not forget, a lot of people, including The Office, still quote Philadelphia and the explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
What else is TV for? One funny thing about Tombstone is the guy that directed it didn't really do a whole lot else, but his son is the guy that made Mandy, which is a movie that was pretty recently. It came out pretty recently. It was very weird.
So weird.
I mean, I like it, but I like weird shit. But I just think it's kind of funny that this one guy had this huge hit, but it just kind of started and stopped with Tombstone in a way.
I mean, I know Batman Mask of the Phantasm's not really on the same level as these other three.
It's one of the better Batman movies.
But it's definitely something that needs to be mentioned, as the animated series is...
to some people, the Batman.
Like, Kevin Conroy as Batman is, like, the Batman
yeah,
for
some people.
Like
and this,
Mark Hamill.
like you said, this movie is considered possibly the best Batman movie.
By some people, like, I mean, you're a bigger Batman fan than I am. Like, where does this one rank for you?
I mean, I still like the, Batman 89 better, but that's because I love Michael Keaton. That was my first Batman, so.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't even really watch the animated series when it came out, because, obviously I was... Yeah.
Watching cartoons back then wasn't as...
I was the right...
I was 12, so I guess technically I was about the right age, but it just,
I remember that the show was so popular that my aunt was, talking to me about it, of course that I would be into it, but I never stayed on anything for too long, which is probably why you guys hear me talk about so much weird shit all the time.
I loved X-Men, the cartoon, but for some reason I just never got into the Batman cartoon.
I always think about it, but I'm like, maybe I'll go back one day. But I was a total Nickelodeon kid. I had cable, and for me, the weird sense of humor of Rugrats and Ren and Stimpy and all that stuff, All Real Monsters later. I think that's where I draw my sense of humor from, is the weird Nickelodeon, Pete and Pete, which is still my favorite show of all time. But so the superhero stuff didn't work on me as much as the comedy stuff that had jokes in it that I probably didn't get at the time, but got when I was older, and I watched cartoons all through high school. So, well, since I asked Matt, what's your favorite Batman movie?
That's a tough one. I like the Keaton one. I'm not gonna lie. I find Batman Forever a guilty pleasure, because
I love the Schumacher ones for their just
I think Val Kilmer was a very underrated Batman.
I mean, the thing with the two Schumacher Batmans, you compare them to the Burton Batmans, they're wacky and they're out of place.
Yes.
But when you just compare them to
if they're in a vacuum by themselves,
they're fun movies.
They're absolutely fun. You will not be bored at all.
I mean, go watch Batman 66 and then go watch the Schumacher
Batman
ones.
I was a big fan.
And you're okay, this fits.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the Batman TV series because they would play the reruns, I think, right before Scooby-Doo. My sister was really into Scooby-Doo, and I liked the goofy Batman reruns quite a bit. Mine is, I think, Batman Returns, and I think because it's a movie with two villains, and it's not even a Batman movie. I don't think Batman shows up for 45 minutes, and it's really weird and a gross movie, and I quite like it.
It's a tough call.
It is hard. They all have their merits, with the exception of maybe, I don't know, the Bane one was pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, which one? There's two Bane ones.
Oh, well, the Bane one with Tom Hardy was bad.
Both of them.
Yeah. Yeah, you throw Mr. Freeze in there, and I'm done. I can't do it anymore.
Well, let's see if you can do this hardcore TV some more.
Let's try.
The lights are out in the arena, but when they come on, Sabu is down, while Shane Douglas and Sherry are in the ring grabbing the ref.
What the hell is going on?
And then we go to the opening video montage with the logo.
Oh, yes, the Bad Blue logo. And our montage has some more... I think the music's a little different, and we got some more clips of gnarlier shit. We're revving up.
Joey Styles then welcomes us to the show and sends us to a clip of something interesting. But it happens to just be our first match of Pitbull versus Chad Austin.
Pitbull looks so badass. Who is Pitbull?
He's that guy that was on the screen.
Why?
He doesn't really ever do anything.
That's crazy. He looks so badass. He's got he looks like a lean Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
He looks great and mean, and he's really nasty here. I was like,
I had to look him up to see if he
really
was somebody I hadn't recognized yet, because he had the physique and the look and everything.
And the attitude.
Yeah.
I was very surprised. I was like, this guy is doing it.
This was actually his ECW debut.
Crazy.
That's great.
And Tony Rumble, I don't know who he is either, joins Joey on commentary. Pitbull hits a back suplex and several fist drops to begin, an elbow drop, body slam, and a head slam into a turnbuckle. Follows that up with a clothesline and goes for the pin, but he pulls him up at 2.
He's already
the arrogant pin. Yeah. Arrogant pin.
He's just like, I'm gonna make my mark now. Chad Austin.
Pitbull continues the attack with a Russian leg sweep and a power bomb, followed by a vertical suplex. Goes for the cover, but again pulls him up at 2. Pitbull with a forearm leg drop, another cover to again pull him up, before biting Austin's forehead. Chad would be sent to the ropes, ducking a clothesline, and comes back with a spinning heel kick for the pin and the win.
The wrong man won.
Or did he?
Yes. Pitbull was great here. I'm pro Pitbull.
Post-match, Pitbull is pissed off.
Yes, he was pissed off before the match ended.
And he continues to attack Austin with a hot shot that sends Chad over the ropes to the floor. Rolls him back in to deliver a clothesline and multiple falling fists, when Sandman comes running down to the ring to make the save.
Sandman in his babiest of blues.
Jason, the sexiest man on earth, then comes out as well, jumping on the apron to distract Sandman, allowing Pitbull to hit him from behind, sending him out to the floor and running him into the ring post.
Posted.
Chants of Sandman sucks coming from all over the arena before Pitbull hits an armbreaker DDT and hitting Sandman in the shoulder with a chain.
So yeah, Pitbull's already over immediately. We got Sandman sucks. And I don't know why else they hate him.
Or they just want Sandman to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'm just confused on when you have somebody debut against a jobber and have them lose.
A guy with a name like Pitbull that looks like a guy like Pitbull that just had a performance like this guy named Pitbull.
I agree. I was completely shocked. I was like, what? Wait, what? Huh?
Yeah, I was expecting to be like, oh, Pitbull went to jail tomorrow, and that's why his wrestling career went away, because he's as nasty as we thought he was.
We then get Maddie in the house, and I'm not talking about me, recapping what we just saw before sending us to highlights of Mr. Hughes versus Sandman.
You know, Maddie in the house kind of looks like Chase Owens, the Texas heavyweight champion, right?
We get highlights from a match where we see Hughes charging out of a corner with a clothesline and starts beating on the Sandman in the corner before hitting a hard Irish whip, and Sandman hits shoulder first into the ring post. So Hughes starts working the shoulder, followed by hitting a shoulder breaker. We then go to Jason.
That was a big cat.
The sexiest man on the earth, in the back. And he says, "You're all asking the same question. What was I doing when Sandman stuck his nose in the business of my good friend Pitbull? He made it my business by making the worst mistake of his life when Sandman told him no to being his manager." So Jason trying to be Sandman's manager. Sandman's like, "Don't think so."
I got peaches.
So he goes and helps Pitbull instead. And
have we seen Jason before?
Yeah, he's shown up a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, here they're like, they give him promos and he's doing his thing, but I don't think he's. It's like when I was watching, I was like, I think we haven't seen him like this.
He kind of did a promo at the end of the last episode we saw, where he, like, Joey was asked him about the Sherry and Medusa thing, and he basically made it about himself.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
But it was one of those things, like, not memorable after they just had this weird yelling match in a hotel lobby.
Yeah, I fucked Greg Valentine. Well, I fucked him better, or whatever.
Yeah. Weird flex, I think they say.
Yeah.
We go to our second match of Rockin' Rebel versus Don E. Allen. And Rebel attacks before the bell, pulling Allen's shirt over his head before tossing him out to the floor.
What a boob.
Rebel brings Don back into the ring with a vertical suplex, chokes, elbow drops, a back elbow, head slams into turnbuckles, and hard chops before throwing Allen back out to the floor. Don comes off into the ring with a sunset flip, but Rebel holds onto the ropes until the ref kicks them off, allowing Allen to get a 2 count.
Dirty little ref.
Rebel then shoves the ref, turns in time to catch Don going for a crossbody, slamming him to the mat, and picks him up to hit a pile driver for the pin and the win.
Well, I mean, at least the jobber lost in this match.
Tony Rumble says that Rebel has more power than Paul Orndorff.
Fuck is up with that?
Yeah, what's with the shade?
Or are they trying to bring
Paul
to the eastern side?
Who knows?
Paul is so much better.
But I was just like,
than ECW.
okay, Tony Rumble.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they've had Morocco, Snuka, Santana, Terry Funk.
Pitbull has more.
Gotta bring in
more
Paul
vibe than Paul than
Paul's
Rockin'
still doing
Rebel.
well in WWE.
I know, but
WCW.
he's in the same age bracket as all those other ones, so they need
That's
new
true,
old
but
blood.
I mean, how much better does he look without a murder rap? Because I mean, Snuka looks great.
But
forever.
ECW is starting to moving away from those guys just to get a cheap pop.
Yeah.
They're working their guys basically.
And they're about to prove it.
And see, also, I wasn't for sure if Orndorff eventually ended up there for a little bit, so I guess we'll find out.
I'm not sure.
We'll find out.
We then go to Joey Styles, and he starts talking about the next match, even giving away the winner before they show the match.
I was like, you son of a bitch.
But we're not going to tell you who it is.
No, why would we?
Yeah, because we're not Joey Styles.
So we got our third match, Sabu with Paul E. Dangerously versus Terry Funk with Bad Breed of Axel and Ian Rotten in a no DQ match for the ECW Heavyweight Championship.
Homicidal. Suicidal.
So the story behind this match was that Sabu had won the title from Shane Douglas. We saw that the last time.
Yeah, with a moonsault real quickly.
Mm-hmm. Before going to November to Remember, a non-televised event for a tag team match with the winner take all. Sabu and his partner Road Warrior Hawk would face Terry Funk, the ECW television champion at the time, and his partner King Kong Bundy.
Ooh, king of the 5 count.
Sabu would pin Terry after Bundy turned on him to become a double champion.
Homicidal. Suicidal.
So the champ comes out first. Foreshadowing.
I love these, like, Sabu legitimately. It looked like they tied him up because the way they cut to it, he's, like, losing his shit, but he's just really selling this him tied to a dolly gimmick so incredibly. It's wild.
So the match goes out to the floor immediately with Sabu chasing Funk when the Maniac swings a chair at Terry. Back in the ring, Sabu with chokes until Funk drags Sabu out to the floor where he begins to chop away, pulling the Maniac back into the ring only to toss him out to the other side.
Yeah, he's like pulls him in from the front of the hard cam and pushes him out the back of the hard cam. Yeah, the energy is here.
Terry slams Sabu on a table, grabs a chair, slamming it across the Maniac. Back in the ring, Funk hits multiple pile drivers for 2 counts before Terry just leaves to head to the back. And I was like, but you're not the... Why would you leave? You're not the champion.
And you also got the drop on the boy at the moment.
Yeah.
This match is kind of cut up a little bit, so we move forward in the match with Funk laying on the mat while Sabu has a chair, slamming it across Terry's back before hitting Air Sabu, which is where he leaps up off of a chair into a forearm in the corner.
Yeah, good shit.
We move forward again as we see Sabu hitting a body slam and a split-legged moonsault for a 2 count. Funk's up, tosses Sabu to the floor, and follows out with a crossbody off the apron. But the Maniac responds with a back body drop on the concrete.
people are going wild, and this match feels more like a fucking fight than a lot of wrestling matches. Like, there's the right kind of sloppiness and like energy that, like, yeah, there's these big Sabu spots and Terry Funk's doing crossbodies and whatnot, but like this has a very like a more organic energy than I was quite expecting.
Back in the ring, Sabu with a leg drop across the back, while the handler would bring a table out, which after tossing Terry to the floor, would toss him into the table. The two men roll back in, where Funk hits several headbutts, which knocks them both down, while the Bad Breed toss a table into the ring, where Terry sets it up in the corner. The two men are brawling away when Sabu tosses Funk into the table multiple times. But it must be reinforced.
They didn't score this one, boys.
Nah.
Sabu then punches the ref and throws him into the table as well, before hitting a springboard moonsault onto Bad Breed at ringside and into the crowd. Terry's Irish whipped into the table again, and this time it breaks in half, sending Funk over to the floor. We move forward in the match once again to Sabu body slamming Terry in the ring on the table before going for a moonsault, which Funk doesn't completely get out of the way of.
No. Catches some of it.
Yeah. Bad Breed's attacking the handler at ringside while Terry applies the spinning toe hold, only for Paul E. to run into the ring, hitting Funk over the head with the phone. Then he drags Sabu on top. But Shane Douglas and Sherry Martel then hit the ring, with Shane nailing Sabu with a chain-wrapped fist, while Sherry jumps on the back of Dangerously. The lights go out, and when they come back on, Douglas has grabbed the ref, while Funk has covered Sabu for the pin and the win. And new! Post-match, Shane and Sherry check on Terry along with Bad Breed. And then Sabu hits a somersault plancha onto Douglas, while Paul E. hits Ian Rotten with his phone.
It's wild out here. We're going full ECW. I can't stress how intense Sabu is and how intense everybody's standing up this whole, whatever we get of this match. Like, everyone's into it.
He's so intense that because there's still a table standing in the ring,
oh yeah,
Sabu springboard moonsaults himself onto the table to break it.
Yeah. He's homicidal and suicidal, guys. I've said it a few times.
Remind me of when Ric Flair eventually starts, elbow dropping his jacket or whatever.
Yeah. We go to the back where Paulie Dangerously's there, and he goes on a rant, basically about not giving any comments.
The man that can talk about nothing.
We then go to Terry Funk with Bad Breed in the back. And Terry starts going on about he is better than all the greatest wrestlers ever. That he comes from the greatest wrestling family. He then starts telling a story about how Dory Sr. took his dog out and shot it after it had bitten Terry, saying the same eyes that the dog had are the eyes that he saw on Sabu.
Such a good way to put Sabu over, even though you just beat him.
We then go back to Paulie, and he starts talking about how it's not about titles for Sabu. He doesn't care who wins between Shane and Funk, who are going to meet in a couple weeks. Sabu only cares about blood and destruction. And for the first time, he has a personal hatred for Terry and wants to kill him.
I know, I'm just like...
Trash the TV title just because. You think Sabu cares about the TV title?
Sabu doesn't give a fuck about anything. That's why, he, one point, and maybe will work his way back up there, going through this rise of ECW, was, one of my favorite wrestlers, because the energy is palpable when Sabu is at his best. When he shares his eyes with Terry Funk's dog, who is living in dog hell.
The show then fades to black, and I ask you, gentlemen, what are your overall thoughts of this episode of Hardcore TV?
They put Sabu over so well while still taking the belt off of him that it is somehow nonsensical and perfect. We're just like, oh, well, I don't know if we've seen it done this believable before. It's like, oh, he's crazy. It's like, oh, no. We watched the 10 minutes that they had in this episode, like at least recorded or what they cut together. Sabu legitimately looks and feels crazy.
Yeah.
Like they told me who won, and I was watching it, and I was sucked in. Like, tracked it. What do you call that?
Tractor beam.
Tractor beam. They tractor beamed me into the violence, the bad video quality, whatever. But like, it legitimately was like, I would have done anything to be in that room right then. It was how I felt in the few minutes that this was going on. Like, oh my god.
The sound effects or the sound problems that they had on this specific show actually worked in its favor because it made you lean in to hear what they were saying.
I can see that
and,
for sure.
Paulie, it's amazing to look at the promo that he did at the end of this show here, because as you're watching it, he could do the exact same thing today, or he could use a promo from today and use it back then. And I mean,
delivery is a little bit different now, but because he's older and wiser and a little less.
Yeah,
he's more calculated, but there's still calculation here.
Yeah.
He's just not as like brash.
But he's just as on point then as he is today, at least to me. I mean, he hasn't mastered the perfect emphasis on specific words and whatnot, but he got on there, said what he had to say, changed his voice throughout it, pulled you in closer, and then, kicked you in the nuts in the process of, this is how it's going to be, get used to it or get the fuck out.
He is one of the best non-wrestling promos of all time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I literally wrote, like, you have to go watch this last match and the promos afterwards.
Yeah, if you watch this and like I don't understand ECW, it's like, well, watch this and understand that this is where it really gets going, and tell me that you can't just feel the energy.
Yep.
I literally wrote the word "wow."
Yeah, it's palpable.
This right here is the reason why Paul is considered one of the geniuses in the wrestling world.
I mean, yeah,
because he put together that match, he did all these promos that totally sold me on what this is, and it sets up the next thing, puts everyone over. I'm so ready to see all of it.
It's almost like he saw what Cactus Jack had been like trying to do and got to do sometimes with his like crazy matches, and then also, he's got the gift of gab, but he doesn't have the like printed rules in his brain about wrestling like Jim Cornette does, where it's like wrestling is like one thing to Jim Cornette. He does not interested. There's like a formula. It's like algebra for him. Like, this is what works, and he's not wrong about it working and it not working. But what Paulie dangerously starts here divides by zero, and now your algebra doesn't quite work the same way. Sometimes you plug everything in, and you don't always get the right answer, and however you feel about it, this is kind of the like true start of that. But I feel like there's no way he wasn't inspired by some of the like the stuff that Cactus Jack was probably talking about trying to do in the back in WCW, and him being able to do it here in some true basically underground bullshit. True, like there's no rules. We got a small room and we can keep coming up here.
Good. Where's the smart marks at? All right, fuck you.
I think it's time we smark it up. So what are the best moments of this show?
Sabu tied up, looking like they just tied him up, but no, he was just like, it looked like they tied him up, he was trying to get away, but no, he was trying to get out of there so he could commit violence.
And when we see our first Air Sabu, we see the split-legged moonsault.
Yes.
Which is always fun.
And he's so crisp here, but he has even, like, it seems so very, everything's unhinged.
Yeah.
It feels, there's moments, the smaller moments that are not Sabu doing flip moves or, like, traditional, like, pile drivers or wrestling moves. When they're, like, brawling on the side of the ring and stuff, I think is the shit that looks more shoot than anything we've even watched at this point. And Terry Funk, of course, is also very good at that.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
he's a huge part of that, like, working. He's Terry fucking Funk.
Yeah.
This is Terry Funk brawler mode, and he's with a brawler that is sold as a complete monster, and then goes out there and is not only a monster but an athletic monster.
Anything else?
Oh, Pitbull. Love Pitbull.
Pitbull looked good. I wish there would have been schmoz, and that's why he would have lost.
Yeah.
That would have made more sense.
Yeah, it's like we'll probably never
I
see
mean,
him
it was
again.
because
But
it was literally he lost because of his arrogance, which I guess is a story to tell.
But he was too badass. Like, it's one thing to be arrogant and, like, good, but he was, like, too fucking badass for the arrogance to be a big enough downfall.
And I didn't understand necessarily. I mean, maybe it's just because he went on the attack afterwards, but the Sandman insta-feud.
I mean,
we're going to be confused.
I think it
probably
literally just
early on.
starting a feud, and that's
Just getting the people in
because
front of...
Sandman's the people's champion or whatever at this time. So he's like, "Oh, you're beating up one of our guys. I'm gonna come, help him out." That kind
Yeah,
of
they're
thing.
like establishing stars on cable access, so it's just like, oh well, if we just get him in front of people.
Yeah.
I feel like it's one of those things. It's not as we're not on like TNT. We don't have a cable show. We don't have the resources. So if we just get him in front of people and they
know who he is.
yeah, he gets out there and people do wild shit, then just
For
get their
me,
name in the head.
Best moment would be Paulie's final promo at the end.
Absolutely,
Just because,
it's really good.
I mean, he showed right there that he was, a good 30 years ahead of the wrestling world today. And he's only gotten better and better as the years have gone by, so.
Better and, like, different. It's like, oh, he's still the same guy, but he, like, aged into his role. And you can put this promo next to a new one and be like, okay, well, that's what that guy would probably sound like 30 years later if he stayed in wrestling. Terry Funk's dog thing really did a good job of putting Sabu over.
Like when I first heard
Because it was so dark, and it was dark, and all it did was compliment Sabu.
Yeah, when I first heard the promo, I was kind of like, huh? And then I, like, watched it again to, like, get, because I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I was trying to get the words and everything. I was like, okay, I see what he's going for. And I was like, this is really good.
Yeah, it's really intense and super. It's, like, very upsetting. Because he's, like, talking about being a kid and his dog, like, getting killed.
And...
It's really good. It's really, really good.
How about most disappointing?
Pitbull losing and probably never seeing him again.
Oh, I bet we see Pitbull some more. He's an EC. He's an ECW.
There was a little
OG.
bit like there was kind of like too much schmoz with like the Sherry stuff, but at the same time, like that adds to the like fever pitch that they've already built. So like being there is incredible. Looking at it now, you're like, well, they could have done that
going
better.
into the match, if you'd known that whoever the winner of that match was getting a title shot, or
Yeah.
Shane was getting a title shot versus that person.
Yeah.
I think the run-in would have made more sense to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's hard to crap on something that's legitimately doing this with like the least amount of like production and backing. Like this is all just whatever we got, and what they're doing with it is hard to like criticize. But looking at it a step back, you're like, okay, well, you didn't really give us the information very well, but we still say that today about pay-per-views that we watch in '93 with good production.
Literally, if Joey says that as the match gets going, it probably makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather he says that than say the winner of the match before the match has been started. That was my most disappointing.
But Joey's working his way into the role.
I mean,
he hasn't been here
you got to remember it also is a highlight show of something that happened 2 days ago. So a lot of people might already know.
I get
what
it,
happened.
but then at the same time, you're stealing from your potential new audience that you're gaining because you're giving away the answer before they're allowed to get in and see what's going to happen.
That was one of the things that ECW was always really bad about, was like literally going, well, this happened. Okay, now that I told you what happened, here, let me show you.
Yeah. On the plus side, the thing that they did well was drag you into it with the violence and intensity.
Yeah.
So it's like, even though you already told me that, I was still like, oh, lean in. Oh, all right, Sabu. This is not the moonsault that he did on Shane Douglas. This is a whole new monster.
Yeah, I mean, that was my real main disappointment with it. Yeah, the other disappointment is nothing to do with the show itself. It's just the quality of
quality.
Yeah, we're lucky to even
the
have
copy.
it.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's kind of what it comes down to, but, you know.
That's not an ECW problem there. That's just time.
Yeah.
How about best performer of the night?
Paulie.
I mean, I'm going to go Sabu for turning himself into a star.
We'll just make it a triple
Threat.
a three-way dance, and I'm going to go Terry Funk.
Yeah, honestly, it's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, this whole clip show exists for that.
Yeah. And then how about most surprising?
I guess, like...
Pitbull probably losing.
Yeah, Pitbull losing. I kind of forgot that Sherry was still around, so when she came out, I popped a little bit.
Do we know, just because I'm used to seeing Sherry be a heel, Terry Funk oftentimes being a heel, Sabu a lot of times in a heelish way, who was the heel and who was the face here?
I mean, I think if you're with Paulie,
tell.
I think you're a heel. So
Yeah.
Sabu's probably the heel in this.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then
because Terry Funk's established.
Terry's the face.
Yeah, because I mean, you had Paulie jump in and hit Sabu, or not Sabu.
I mean, like, Terry Funk was a face in Japan, but he was a heel in America, basically.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm used to mostly, is Terry Funk being a heel. But then
Now
Paulie
you're
is
in the
usually
world
a heel too, so it's like, all right, which one are we actually going for
This
here?
is like watching The Warriors and being like, well, who's the bad guy? It's like, well, the movie mostly focuses on this gang, so I guess they're the good ones, but like they're still all, you know, they're all still like
they're all
gang
not good
members.
people.
Yeah.
Making their way to the ring.
It's trivia time.
Ooh, what the hell
This
we got
week, the category is What's in a Name?
It's just a name, a name, a name, a name. What's in a name?
Hey, one of those ones again.
I will give you the real name of a person. You give me the rest of their name. If you can give me the answer without multiple choice, it's 5 points. With multiple choice, it's 3 points. So the name I'm going to give you this week is Kevin Wachholz.
Kevin Watchels?
Wachholz. Wachholz.
I have no idea. I will, unless you buzz in, Shane, I will elect myself to go to multiple choice.
Yeah, let's do choice, because I, off the top of my head, have no clue.
Going to multiple choice, and your 4 choices are Brian Knobs, Nails, Norman the Lunatic, and One Man Gang.
Oh, shit.
Oh, we went obscure this week.
Yeah, we
Oh
did.
yeah, I have my guess, but it's all on instinct. Nails is my guess. My guess is Nails.
And that is correct.
Oh my god!
Nice.
I had to get one eventually.
Nails, Watchels,
I don't.
Nazeem.
I feel like maybe I looked at Nails Wikipedia once, and I was like, it just fits him more than it does.
Yeah, see, in my head, I was thinking, say Barry Darso. Say Barry Darso, because I know that one. I don't know why that was the name that popped in my head.
Who's
but
Barry Darso?
Smash.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Pressure Khrushchev,
didn't know that.
Repo Man. So the scores as of now, we got Shane with 47 points. Michael with 26.
Oh my gosh, I'm so far behind. Did I still got 2 points last?
I'm a whole person older, or a whole person who can drink older than your score.
I know.
And almost in person, probably, too.
No.
Next week, Battlefield 1994.
That doesn't sound like Battle Bowl, so I shouldn't be too scared yet.
We're going over to Japan.
Okay.
We going to the egg? We going to the dome?
Going to the Dome.
Oh, well, you know what happens in the dome.
Great shit.
Meltzer gives everything 5 stars. We're going to the dome.
That's right. So Tokyo, Japan's where we're going.
I'm excited.
You can find all of the matches out on New Japan World. So you should go out there and watch along with us.
Hell yeah.
Abandon Peacock and party with us over at New Japan World.
And, you know.
Or don't. Do whatever you feel. But if you want some quality, It's abound.
I have a feeling it's going to be a much higher quality than we're used to watching for New Japan.
I mean,
as
we
far
are
as on TV compared to the little
some of the stuff
ways
we watched
that we were trying to watch it before.
Yeah, like quality-wise, as
Yeah.
far as like video and audio.
Well,
quality.
video and audio might be about the same, but
Maybe more
you'll get the full
official.
batches.
Yeah, that's nice too.
And that's been our main goal for it anyways, is if we could
Absolutely.
only have this 5 minutes that they cut out of this.
Yeah, we're working our way in there. We're expanding our horizons. We're not going straight WWF, WCW. We've been folding in Japan for a while, and I'm
some
excited.
ECW.
And some ECW, and like I'm excited to liven up this pool instead of it's W's to W's. We're adding E's and N's.
But we've made it through 93, going into 94 next week.
Oh,
mean, that'll be-
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. 93 moved quick. Was Vader the MVP of 93? It's hard to choose, but I had a lot of fun with Vader in 93.
Him or Hart, probably.
Had a lot of fun with Vader in 93. There's some real good ones.
I don't know. You got Yoko in there too.
Yoko had to lay down to Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
At least he had the opportunity to, I guess. Probably a pretty good paycheck.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Music from this week's show is Sad But True by Metallica.
Sad but true.
And Terry Funk won our main event, so we're going to go with Fanfare for the Common Man by Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
One of these days, we're gonna sneak in that really good Terry Funk song from that really good Terry Funk album that came out in.
Terry Funk put out an album?
Yeah, it's really good. We'll send you the link on YouTube.
That's great.
Terry!
If you like this episode or any of our other ones, please go out there and rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts at. You can, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, recipes, please hit us up on our email at
Please do.
wrestlinghistoryx@gmail.com.
Japan is one of the most difficult ones to come up with,
Oh,
so
no. I'm going to hand make some gyoza next week. That's probably not true. It sounds like a lot of work.
But you can also do that on our Twitter. Find us there at WrestlingHistoX. That's Wrestling HISTOX. We'll talk to you next week.
Laters.